Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at it's like 3:13 in the afternoon. So we have with us Carrie Allen with us from the Credit Unions Association, and she has some of her members that are here today. It's Credit Union Day at the State House, and so we invited them to come in and have a conversation with us. So Carrie, thank you for coming in.
Thank you all so much. It's great to see you. And the sun came out for us this afternoon because credit unions are at the State House. So thank you all so much. We spent some time listening to different lawmakers and key influencers from around the state this afternoon to learn a little bit more about what goes on in Montpelier. And we, of course, spend some time with your committee, and we wanted an opportunity to come back and say hello and thank you for all the work that you're doing. So I'm really excited. I have some CEOs from the credit unions around the state with me this afternoon. John Dwyer, the CEO of Eastrise Credit Union, Bob Morgan from North Country, Sean Gammon from 802 Credit Union. On this side, I have Jean Bayard from Vermont Federal and Brett Smith from One Credit Union. These represent some of our larger credit unions in the state. Of course, there are 14 credit unions in the state of Vermont domiciled here in Vermont. And 2/3 of Vermonters are credit union members. So certainly well representative of the people around the state of Vermont. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for including credit unions in the conversation. We hope that over the course of the rest of this session and next year and to come, that you look to credit unions as resources. We want to be here to support the work that you're doing to support Vermonters, and anything we can do to help to answer some questions or collaborate, we certainly want to be a part of that conversation. So never hesitate to reach out to all of us.
So Carrie, how many are domiciled are chartered in Vermont? How many are federal?
State chartered, we have about half and half actually right now. Yeah. Half state chartered and half federal.
That's good. Great. So I don't know if the committee is aware that they're under NCUA and not FDIC.
That is correct.
Okay. Would anyone like to chat with us? Welcome. It's just a conversation.
Bob, would you like to chat?
We're just having a conversation, and we're the committee that has jurisdiction.
I didn't mean to pick up on it. I'm sorry. I'm John Dwyer. I'm the CEO for Eastrise Credit Union. I'm in Williston. I'm the old guy in the room, and for the credit union people, I'll say. And I'm also going to be retiring in a couple months. So I was a pleasure recognized. I've been at Eastrise for 39 years next 2 weeks from now. And I have had the thrill to be part of this industry in this state. And we represent of the 170,000 members of Eastrise, about 85% of them still live in Vermont. I always say still live in Vermont because we have a lot of people who are retired and who may have a different address. But as Carrie noted, and as we represent here, I also serve on the board with Jean, Brett, and these guys used to be on the board, other members. We really are thrilled to be providing services to Vermonters. And we not only understand the work you do every legislative session, as we do every year, every day, really, to try to make a difference for consumers here in Vermont, financial services. I have had the honor of testifying with you. I was here last year talking about the impact on businesses with some of the things that were being proposed in Washington at the time. And we're looking for ways to perhaps provide cash service to businesses. And we have had other representatives from Eastrise as well. So we certainly appreciate the opportunity to say thank you to you as well. I won't.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
John,
Right, we did that.
Chatted Hula a few months back. And I was just thinking about, so the Eastrise would be the predominant sort of credit union of some stature within the Bennington One district in Southwest Vermont with the location in Bennington. I'm wondering how you see the services that you provide in a hub like Burlington versus, farther down Bennington, do you see the same demands, or you must see different kinds of demands, and how do you sort of keep up with what's needed where?
Yeah, so I think the best way to describe it is we see the same set of demands. They just may have a different dollar value. So we see similar business, commercial needs, commercial lending, real estate lending. We might see the same kind of deposit services that are required. From a consumer standpoint, they're similar as well, but the dollar amount may be different, right? The loan we do in Burlington is going to be a larger dollar amount. It may not be any more or less complex, because certainly in a business lending standpoint, the underwriting of those can be more complex. But the dollar amounts, I think the impact is also greater, arguably. We like, I think a lot of my peers are trying to invest across the state. So although we may see more opportunities in Burlington because of how many people are there, we are really looking to do as much in Rutland as we do in Rutland County as we do in Chittenden or Bennington or Brattleboro. So my sense is, I can't speak for everyone, but I certainly we all know each other well. We're trying to have that same impact across the state. Sorry.
I'm Dave Bosch. I'm from Clarendon. Congratulations on your pending retirement.
Thanks.
And I was curious to know about succession plans. Are you part of that process, and therefore it'll answer a question or two, or?
So the answer is no, I'm not part of the process. Our board established a succession process about a year and a half ago, and we are now going through that. They have a search committee, and they are doing a search for my successor. They're about halfway through that process.
Are you privy to any conversations about obstacles they may have run into?
I'm not.
Either somebody from within or from outside the state, perhaps.
I'm not privy to that. I've not been exposed to that.
Just curious.
I'm probably more familiar, as many of you are, with other situations. I actually also serve on the Health Network Board, UVM Health Network Board. So I'm certainly aware of some of the challenges that the Health Network faces in bringing people to our state, whether it's doctors or any real health network professional. So mindful of that, but I certainly can't say that's part of our current experience. Sure.
Other questions? With the issues that have been happening in the federal government as far as budgeting and lack of money for TSA workers, other federal workers, I'm assuming you probably have some numbers that fall into those categories, and were you able to assist them through all of those issues?
If I could be polite and bold at the same time, I will just simply say, yes, we have programs for that, but there are others in the room who can certainly speak to their programs as well. I don't know, Jeannie or Bob, I know you both at least. I don't think everybody has a program for those situations, so I certainly don't want to be the only.
I think you said it well. Most
And for the record,
For the record, Bob Morgan, CEO of North Country Federal Credit Union. We have 78,000 members, the vast majority in Vermont. Most of us stood up programs that not only included easy modifications for skip payments and such, but a number of us had either 0% interest loans until the paychecks came in, or very low interest loans or support those federal workers. And the impacts on them were very real, very, very real. So that's one tangible way that, credit unions really show that we are cooperatives here to serve our members and here to serve kind of them in good times and the tough times as well. That's what we do. And that's, we certainly were part of it. East Rise, Modified, everybody here, was one. Everybody had a role.
Fortunately, we've had a lot of practice.
Right.
I mean, we don't even have, we already have the products set up. It's just a matter of going and back off the shelf. But
Yeah.
the underwriting's very easy. So
And we do monitor all of that. We monitor what's happening in Vermont. at all times because of whatever affects our members. So how do we respond to our membership in the problems that they're having and the problems that they're seeing? We look at that as what our purpose is. We take care of the people that are part of our membership. We have 63,000 members. I'm Jean Gyrodine from Vermont Federal Credit Union. And our job is to take care of those members. So if they are TSA, if there's been a flood, if whatever's happening in the state of Vermont, we respond to.
If I may say, I'm retired from 39 plus years working for you folks for the Green Mountain National Forest, other national forests out in California first. And longtime credit union member, currently with Credit Union of Vermont, now Vermont. So congratulations on your successful run. And yeah, they were there for us when we victims shut down and looked like during there. Very helpful. Negotiate through without too much skin loss.
There's questions? Adam, have something?
Adam McCrasson, Association of Vermont Credit Unions, just wanted to prompt the leaders to give you a window into how fraud comes and goes from their credit unions at a higher level. Not of course debt legislation specifically, but just in general. What's the trend on fraud and how do members?
Well, it'd be nice to know about the transaction holds that's in 3 and 5.
First, that you have the transaction hold capacity. So I'll start with fraud, and please jump in, everybody. We now have 4 full-time positions that are associated with fraud mitigation and fraud investigation. We are literally dealing with, this is a bad reference, but whack-a-mole. It's literally every couple of weeks I hear of a new, whether you want to call it a scenario or whether you want to call it a vector or whatever the right terminology is. We had one last month that none of us had ever heard of, and yet was a situation where it was 5 figures, tens of thousands of dollars. And I think we're all dealing with those situations. Unfortunately, members fall for the text messages, members fall for the phone calls. We are on average, have somewhere between 20 and 30 members a month who give away their online credentials. And that is not stopping. No matter how much education we do, we've done education for years. You see our websites, you see the postings we advertise, we all do that. We all try to frame for members that we're not going to ask for information we already have, but we do have members who fall for it. And it is not age, there is some relationship to age, but it's not as directly related to age as one thinks. So across our membership. So we're spending a lot more money and a lot more time trying to catch things as quickly as we can. I think the opportunity that's in that bill to have somewhat of a cover for engaging. We already engage. We do train a lot, or we train our staff a lot. We train to look for signals. We train for the right questions they ask. And we engage members literally weekly, if not daily in some stretches. And I think the ability to have that protection by basically denying a transaction, challenging as that decision is to make, and as we've all dealt with the member on the other end of the phone who was upset with us because we did deny a transaction. I'm sure all of us have gotten that type of phone call. We are doing what we think is in the best interest of that member. And I can tell you there are way too many stories about where members are keeping money. So I think the fraud, it's certainly not going to end. I think AI is going to unfortunately make it worse because we've actually tested my voice with our team. So you can use, you may know this already, but a lot of people get emails from me at my office because that's one of the ways they get calls, and they're now getting, we're testing them with calls in my voice. So that's something that, it's a very small test, just to be fair, it's not, but I think that's an example of what we're having to do in the industry to try to protect members' money.
If I can add on that too, just, and I'm not referencing any specific legislation, but John was mentioning whack-a-mole, and I think it's important to know that fraud happens across all sectors, whether in-person, card, online, those pieces, but the ability, the fraudsters are gonna use most of advanced technology tools, artificial intelligence, all sorts of, different technology platforms. And it's gonna be very important that legislation doesn't constrict the use of ours and technology to fight against that. So, for fraud, we're implementing within our online and mobile banking system, some different detection tools that literally will understand, the patterns of how you use your keyboard and how you type to make sure that having those types of tools available to us, given the fact that members are giving out their credentials and bypassing the text verifications through those types of things, it's going to be very important for financial institutions to have in their tool belt to kind of combat an ever-increasing risk.
Brett Smith, One Credit Union, 18,500 members. So I'm kind of this group, I'm the little guy of the credit unions, but it affects, it doesn't, the fraudsters don't care what size institution you are, the same impact is relative. And the use of AI and new technologies, they've grown even more brazen, I would say. We recently had a case where we flagged a loan application as potentially fraudulent. And an individual actually came in with credentials in hand. Because there's websites where you can get ADP pay statements printed or other types of pay, and so they still didn't get the loan, we still flagged it. We also learned that, just looking on the credit report, there was similar at other locations. So, I think the network by sharing fraud activity has helped because we're able to reach out to other, credit unions, say, hey, we saw this, be heads up. So there, with technology, it's even more brazen at our size, which is about the 10th of the size of John's credit union. We're looking at having a full-time fraud person just to be able to handle what's coming in. We've invested in extra technology to try to combat and improve identification, because online is, 80% of what we have in now comes through online channels. Being able to pick that up, and I think along the lines, not talk about the coerced debt, people be able to use online, our employees can't put eyes on an individual that's online to be able to tell if they look like they're in distress or doing something, perhaps that might not be of their own will. It makes it that much more challenging. So the investment, like John was saying, is increasing quite a bit. So having protections in place for both sides, because that's always a concern. Nowadays, unfortunately, anything we look at today, the first thought is, okay, how are fraudsters going to be able to use that against us? And what are we going to have to defend against in order to bring this new item that may benefit our members, but also could put them at risk?
And beyond the technology, just, non-technology events continue to happen, romance scams. I mean, we had a member just a few months back that we got the Secret Service involved trying to help protect this member's money and not send it somewhere they shouldn't send it. And despite all that, the member still ended up losing some money. And so, the technology advances are making it harder and harder. And then just the simplest types of events continue to happen. And, we've gotten internally, we're not winning every one of these fraud battles. We're losing money sometimes, the members losing money sometimes both. And we're starting to celebrate the large percentage of people that were saving them money, and our staff is catching something, advising them on something, helping them not send that money to so and so. So it's it is a lot of effort going on by all 5 of our credit unions, and statewide, just to help Vermonters.
The heartbreaking part is when our members lose money, their savings, they've saved, lifelong savings, to a fraudster that's able to. No. Okay, to a fraudster who's, done romance scam, people have lost a lot of money to them. We do work together. We work with the FBI and with, other credit unions to talk about what's going on in our credit unions and with banks. Very free with the information, talk to each other, talk to the community banks to be able to combat this fraud. So it's a kind of a statewide effort to try to keep this at a minimum.
I'm curious how you all balance that with the userability of your products and people like how do you balance the need for that friction, but also not wanting to discourage any customers?
Zell's a good example. If everyone knows what Zell is, like a Venmo type of product, and so we offer that, and we've had to really restrict how much money we will allow going through that, just to help minimize that risk in
Interesting.
the organization. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you end up with what we call boundary controls, right? You have controls around, you might have a transaction limit. And so how much money you can use. Yeah. And you also have graduated identification based upon the risk of the transaction that somebody's, so wiring money, we've been involved with wire fraud for decades. So there are pretty good controls. I'm sure we all have them, that the bigger the dollar amount for the wire, the more somebody's involved. There was a day in my career where I actually had to sign off on wires. They were high enough. But that question is really not easy to answer. I will just share. It's a constant challenge because we're in the business of convenience. We're, to the 99.9% of the members who don't lose money, they want us to be easy to do business with.
I remember the changes that have come in just opening up a bank account. It's all online now. That was something that you've had to like walk into and present paperwork, and it's very different. And as consumers really do expect that ease of use, but it's a little tough.
It is.
Yeah.
Most of our institutions have inventoried all of our processes that allow us to do business and have assigned kind of risk values associated with those. And then have sort of measured against what the controls are. What are those friction points, whether it's callbacks on wires or different types of things, to get to a point where we're able to compete in the marketplace based on speed, convenience, ease of use, but stay within sort of risk limits. So it is a ongoing evaluation.
Questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for.
We appreciate all of you and the work that you do and for having.
Thank you. Just so you all know too, Carrie's been in here quite often this year, and she represented you very well.
Yeah, she has.
One of us, as you know. Yeah. Appreciate that. We certainly think that she's wonderful and is with her experience in the industry and is very, very much able to represent us very well. Thank you.
She's been very helpful with those that we put through here this year that dealt with our financial institutions. So we certainly appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you.
Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you for-
Thank you.
Yeah, right. The sun's out.
Thank you.
Thank you
Give you a
for
little,
letting us in. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
I'll be able to hear myself on YouTube later.
Yeah.
Everybody will.
Rather than ever.
Yeah, subscribers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, committee, I think that's it for today. So tomorrow, start out with 327. Discussions about that. I think we'll hear from Adam Bernal. and we'll be hearing from, you and from Samari after Drake, Oliver. So some discussions with them as well on that. AOE was invited, they sent some information for. Else we take one afternoon.
We're back to 173.
173. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of hit and miss this week. But the JFO and attorneys being up in raised means 55. And next week. Yeah.
Yeah,
So next week we'll really be getting into 313 and the CTE discussions. Hopefully, plan is to try to get that bill out by the end of next week or the beginning of the following week.
The CTE.
Yeah, so that we can get that, it'll have to go to education, and possibly ways and means, it does have to go to approach, if we do have that. Legislator
Working group.
working group in there, so.
Okay.
But we have other things that are going on too, and you know, we staggered that, week or two.
198.
198 was working on that this week. We doing that tomorrow?
Oh, I think that was tomorrow
Yeah,
afternoon.
that is tomorrow.
Or we changed it
Yeah,
back on. Yeah, I think so.
Thursday.
Was it Thursday?
Thursday morning.
Yeah, Thursday morning.
Thursday
Okay.
morning, okay. Okay.
We're running together.
Okay. So, with that, any questions?